Hello, welcome to The Perfect Wrist. I can't quite believe we're past the halfway point of 2024 already. This is the perfect opportunity to reacquaint you with what's happened with the collection over the last 6 months. This is a good opportunity for you to see how a collection can develop. If you do look back at my last State of the Collection video and then this one, you'll see some of the changes that have been made, how things have moved and developed. And I think it's also an opportunity for me to get all the watches together in one place. And when I see them on screen, I don't always assume that they're my watches. It's like watching somebody else's State of the Collection video to see your entire collection and maybe knock yourself on the head a little bit, give yourself a dose of common sense and realise that perhaps in some areas you've overdone it a little bit. There's been some changes. There's been a definite push in a couple of directions. The first of those directions that I hadn't quite expected has been a move towards vintage watches. Just something about the aesthetic, the designs from the vintage 50s, 60s, 70s. I've been very attracted to that, and I've found generally good examples. I've found a few good sellers that generally do a light refurbishment, check the movements over, usually replace the crystal, and you get a good all-round classic timepiece for not much money. And let's face it, all the manufacturers are harking back to their vintage designs now. So I'll just go straight to the horse's mouth. So that's one direction I've moved in. The other direction has been more Seikos. I think the thing with Seiko is I just find that no matter what question you ask, the answer is very often Seiko. So we'll get into the collection. I started the year with 35 watches. I thought that was far too many and I was going to consolidate massively through 2024. At this halfway point, that hasn't happened. There's been a lot moved on, but there's been more that have come in. I'm currently sitting on 42 and I expect to have that figure substantially reduced in the next video at Christmas. So let's get into it. So let's start with vintage, and these two little beauties, 35mm, 36mm. The servicer's watch on the right was new old stock. A nice little find, never been used, just sat in the cupboard for years. And the West End Watch Company, I think I've got a nice vintage example, still going with more modern designs. Now here we have two historically significant Seikos. One of the last King Seikos on the left, High Beat, a recent acquisition, haven't had a review yet, keeps perfect time. And one of the old original Seiko 5s from 1966, they were launched in 63, this still has some of the hallmarks of the original Seiko 5s. They did evolve over time. Both of these keep great time and the power reserves are excellent. Two beautiful vintage Omegas from the 50s, yet to be reviewed. Solid 14 karat gold on the right and tuxedo dial on the left. Both refurbished lightly from the same seller. The cases are cleaned, the movements are checked. The dials are slightly refinished and cleaned with a new crystal. I'm quite happy with that. They both run well and keep great time. This was the golden period for Omega. Two vintage Seikos, both unusual cushion type cases, and I couldn't resist. They weren't expensive, they both run well, they keep good time. This is a birth year watch, and this watch 1973. Why pay a fortune for modern vintage inspired watches when you can have the real thing? Certainly that's the way I look at it at the minute. Another vintage Seiko 5 on the left. I bought that originally for the movement, but I quite like the watch. It's going to get moved on. And this vintage Fortis, I can't find any details about it. Some comments on the review that I did mention that it might be a fake, but I know it's got a Fortis movement. And would anybody really fake a Fortis? Good quality case, fits well. Not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. Manual wind. Dive watches. To be honest, watch collecting drives you mad because really, these are all you need. Just one of them. The original Seiko Monsters, both versions, from the early 2000s. They're the only monsters I was interested in. You just shake them and off they go. They keep decent time, rugged as anything, and the loom is just exceptional. Well, what to say about these two big monsters. My first luxury dive watch on the left, the Breitling, still big, still heavy, still amazing. And the Spinnaker Haas on the right, Seiko movement. I do sometimes consider moving this on, but every time I wear it, the way the light plays with the bezel, I change my mind. I think, just keep it. Very well made, lovely bracelet, a lot of attention to detail. Two lovely chunky divers. I've said before, I'll say it again, you simply can't beat, if you're lucky, you simply can't beat the AliExpress watches for their finish and their accuracy, and this steel dive, this Willard homage has proved to be like that. The Sumo on the right, there's a review coming. I was very surprised by this. I do feel that the Sumo, this particular model, offers the total sweet spot of Seiko divers in terms of value and quality. It's great, it fits lovely on the wrist for such a large watch. My two beautiful skin divers, the Zodiac Super Seawolf 53 skin and the Baltic Aquasaph. These both need to get a bit more wrist time, otherwise they may both get moved on. Considering something like a Mido, Ocean Star or a Vulcane. So possibly on thin ice these two, but they're great watches. By the way, if you have any experience of the Vulcane or the Mido compared to these two, just let me know. Well, I still haven't got round to a review yet about my two Vostok Amphibias, but the more that I experience them, the more that I live with them, the better they get. Rugged, reliable, Russian, quirky, and I have to say, I think Vostok now represent the best value in-house automatic watches you can get, especially when you look at some of the mainstream brands and the price hikes. So I'll be doing a review soon about these. These are great, aren't they? Just a little bit of wrist fun from Seiko, with the Antarctica dials and the little penguin feet running up the left-hand side. Seiko do a lot of Antarctica Save the Ocean special editions, and you can't have them all, much as you would like to. It's, you have to choose your pair and stick with it. For now, these aren't going anywhere, but there's been a few lovely special editions that have come out since. My two GMTs. The Glycine really does excel. Pure vintage vibes, unique quirky looks, a lovely stainless bezel, 40mm case, all around 12mm thick. They pack a lot in there, and the Pagani design keeps perfect time, exceptional value for money. I even like the Cyclops. What can you say about these two? The King Seiko with a 6R35 movement on the left, and the Saab 33, both significantly reviewed on my channel, and Seiko at its best really. All round everyday watches. Every collection should have a Casio G-Shock. I just have one. I don't need more than one. It does everything. World timer, stopwatch, the lot. 5 alarms. And then my rotary, a recent pickup, recently reviewed. It's just a beautiful looking watch. Quartz. It's not going to let me down. I think the design is great. There is a review in the last couple of weeks on my channel about this watch. Highly recommended for the price. The two watches that I had before I started watch collecting. Eco Drive on the left, the only chronograph I have, and the Diesel on the right. They've both got good wrist presence. They're lovely to wear, and I'll be keeping these because they're just part of my watch collecting history. Well, what more can be said about the Seiko Sari 57 and the Sari 55? Two brothers from a bygone era, offering exceptional value, Seiko at its finest. Sapphire crystal, lovely curved case shapes, signed crown, rugged 4-hour movement at a price that you simply wouldn't find now with Seiko. And the Citizen Ciosa blue fade turquoise on the right and Pagani Design 38mm field watch on the left, both reviewed on this channel. I actually forget about the Ciosa until I take it out of the box and I realise how amazing it is. I think I'll wear that today actually. A watch I almost forgot about, my little Seiko 5 SNKL 45 from the last generation of Seiko 5s, no longer to be repeated, and the Erebus Ascent, which hasn't arrived yet but it is on order. I suspect that may well become my all-round everyday watch with great lume and a reliable Miyota movement. Two classic Seikos, the SNXS 79 on the left, reviewed on this channel multiple times, and a rare find. I don't know much about it. I don't think it's a Seiko 5, I think it's just a Seiko on the right. From the 70s or 80s with a vertical Aquaterra style striping to the dial. Keeps excellent time and the lume is alright on that. The lume on this is excellent. Finally, some loose ends that may or may not see the year out. Some HMT watches from India, didn't cost a lot. This one, the second hand, has never been on, so that needs to be pulled apart and fixed. This one runs 5 seconds a day fast, so that needs to be looked at. I do like the designs. They've obviously had new crystals, which is fine, and the cases are great. For vintage cases, they've been looked after. Maybe worth keeping, maybe worth living with. There's nothing spoiling there. Finally, these two, a couple of Franken watches by the looks of it. The one on the left I did make myself. That's a new dial, lume's great. New NH35 movement, so that keeps great time. And this one on the right, I love the case. It's a 6139 originally, but I believe that might be a fake dial. So what I might do, I might combine these into one, take the dial and hands from this and put it in there with that case. That's a little project I could get into. So there you go, the full collection as at mid-year 2024. What do you think? I always think there's a lot of Seikos, but then each one I love. I also need to get rid of a good 5, 6, 7 watches before the year end. I am looking at a modern Omega, 3 or 4 years old, something like that, maybe a little bit older, a Planet Ocean or a Seamaster 300 Heritage. I want to bring one of those into the collection to at least experience it, the coaxial movement. So things will have to go to make way for that. I'm also very keen on Nevada Grenshin and what they are doing at the minute with both the chronographs and the F77. So there's a few watches, there's always a few watches in my mind. The only way I can consolidate is to be brutal with the watches that I don't wear. As always, your feedback is welcome. We're all fellow collectors on a similar journey. Don't forget to share the video, give a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.